Hello and welcome to the Tuesday night music show. We're growing. We've got all kinds of people here tonight on the panel that maybe you don't normally see. We got Ken joining us. We've got Damon from Detroit. We've got Matt from the Twin Cities. I don't even know which one you're in. I assume St. Paul, but maybe you're Minneapolis. I don't know. One of the two. It's the same thing. One big city.
6 1/2 dozen of another.
Jay from Temecula, Eric from I don't know where you're from anymore.
Dangerous New Hampshire.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire.
And Kevin from Ohio and John from Boston. And I don't know where Ken's from, but Ken's here.
Florida.
Oh. Florida man. We're just gonna call you Florida man from now on. Hope that's okay.
Yep.
You're only Florida man, I think. So I have a message for everybody from Boston before we get started.
All right.
Get over yourselves.
Thanks.
What, the marathon? Greatest race of all time?
Get off my television. I'm sick of seeing your runners from other countries. Yeah.
Man, did John replay a really good show on DJNTV yesterday. Or the day before yesterday.
Oh, the one hit wonder one. Yeah.
Yeah. I
That was a while ago.
We'd even recorded that show. I was trying to figure out when it was done. And
God, what year was that?
That was actually pre-pandemic. It was 2019, right before the mobile DJ meetup.
Oh, wow.
It took me a while to figure it out, but that was a fun show.
Yeah, that was a good show.
That was really
I remember that show.
There were a lot of people involved, and it was cool because we were talking to Jimmy. He was in the chat throwing out songs.
Yeah.
So Jimmy was around.
As he would do.
Mara was around. You were there, Jay. It was a pretty neat show. So I encourage you to go watch that show, the One Hit Wonder show. It's a repost of something that we did a long time ago, but it's a good show and it lasts a while. It's a pretty long show.
Yeah. We were daring back then. We'd do the hour and 20-minute shows and not think twice about it.
Now we could still do it.
Yeah.
We can hang that long.
Some of us need sleep, so.
John's a good show runner, though. John's a good host. And he keeps things going.
He does.
I have too many people to manage to be as good as he is. I'm unfortunately just not that good. Not with what I got to work with here.
Well, we're shooting from the hip. He's shooting from the piece of paper in front of him.
He's shooting from a script. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he's more interview style because I go in guns blazing.
But he knows what he's going to do. I've done one-to-ones with him as an interview stuff, and like we're 5 minutes of show before show, like, okay, and ding, 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 ding. So, I mean, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps it running in a certain format. But there's something about the off the cuff, in the moment.
Yeah. That's what that show was, too, and that was fun.
Yeah.
That was.
By the way, I want to throw this out. If this happens to any of you, if you are interviewed, I got interviewed at the Hollywood Palladium last week, and the video went up on YouTube, and they sent me a link thanking me for being and I'm in it for like 30 seconds, and I'm talking on the mic, and it's just another example of I should have said something and I didn't, but it didn't dawn on me because every time I do anything, whoever I'm talking with will say to me, "You sound good."
Yeah.
Or could you speak up or move the mic? And they just handed me a Rode mic, and she's like, "So what do you think of the show?" And I'm like, "Oh, everything's great." And it ended, my vocal was really hot. So if you're ever in that position, or even on something like this pre-show, if you have a question, just say like, "Hey, how do I sound?"
How did you ever fill 30 seconds, Jay?
I know.
Really fast. It sounded like an
Mouse over
auctioneer. Yeah, it sounded like I was doing an auction run somewhere. It's like, hey, bing, 30 seconds.
Sold.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it just dawned on me. I'm like, I saw it today. I'm cringing, like, just so not pro the way I wanted it to be. But, it's just another example of we're so in the media eye, especially this. I mean, we take for granted this show, it might be heard by 10,000 people.
And monkeys can fly out of my butt. Yeah.
Well, that's the numbers that Howie was saying. John was reporting some of our episodes were hitting 5 figures.
Yeah.
I don't think they were making it up, were they?
I don't know. I don't know,
even-
but I'm going
even
to
if
just
five
go.
people listen.
I'm going to go on the assumption that
want the
7
sound.
people are going to watch this show. So I want to thank all 7 of you, including those present right now, for
So
watching the
you
podcast of this
expect
show.
a audience of 7 for a panel of 8.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. You're
Don't
really
forget the
shooting high then.
podcast. The podcast listeners who know our voices but don't know what we look like because they just
Because-
listen to us every morning.
So
He
your
said
glass
that
isn't
because-
half full or half empty. It's broken on the floor.
He said that because Damon's not going to watch it when it is. That's why you said 7.
Probably. I mean, one of us is not going to watch. So there's going to be 7 viewers. Someone here won't be one of them.
Much like actors. I never watch this stuff back.
So it doesn't matter if we're topical because we don't know when this is going to go up. And I am very much of the opinion that it's a waste of time to even talk about this. But I think people want to talk about it. And that's the incident at Coachella last weekend
Mhm.
with a DJ called Grimes. Right?
Yep.
Yes.
I'd never heard of Grimes. I'm thinking Rick Grimes from Walking Dead. But apparently there's a DJ called Grimes, or maybe she's a recording artist as well, and put together a DJ set or something.
Probably
have-
more famous for having Elon Musk's children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Most
I
people
didn't
don't.
either.
That's kind of a springboard to fame.
That's the piece they don't. And I'm giving her respect on this. She doesn't lead with that. So the fact that she's the baby mama, and that's not her DJ name. I give her props that she doesn't push that agenda. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
this is
that's
because of my
interesting.
position. I've had to listen to this thing since Saturday night,
Right.
as you can imagine.
Yeah.
We're getting fried for it,
Yeah,
and we're
yeah,
not
dear.
getting fried for it.
Uh-huh.
And certain famous, no names mentioned, but I just shared a story that a DJ put up that was really rather funny, where he was playing his own song at double the BPM and crediting her for the remix. Good, I'll tell you, it was Deadmau5. He had strobe at 240 BPM, and he's like, "Thanks, Grimes, for the remix." So, you know what? She's getting a second chance this weekend. This is the weirdest part about it. She's coming back to do the same thing this coming Saturday, and I think it'll be flawless.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I think there'll be a lot of redemption. And I think there'll be part of our community that goes, well, you should have been more prepared for the first one. But Coachella's a weird event that way. So is Stagecoach. I can't think of any other events. Now, maybe the event you have every summer in Milwaukee, they might double up acts. But Coachella is a double show. So everyone you saw last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to see this Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
They don't typically do that unless it's a local act on a small stage.
Okay, because that's the lineup. The only addition will be smaller acts throughout the show.
Okay.
I worked with a DJ this past Saturday who's playing Coachella next Saturday. So she was preparing by recording her set that she did with me and getting all hyped up and excited. And I don't blame her. She's from Philly and she's getting to play Coachella. So she's really happy about it. But as far as the main stage acts, probably with the exception, and the other one nobody's talking about is Blur. I don't think Blur is coming back next weekend.
Okay. What happened with
Because
Blur?
Blur
What he
did not get the audience response that Blur wanted,
Okay.
and they didn't get the sound they wanted.
Mhm.
Wasn't to their volumes. I think because they're European, they're probably accustomed to playing much bigger sounding stages. And everything I've seen and read and heard was more or less, why isn't this crowd into us? And all the comments on the posts have been, why would they put Blur on this bill? It's a bunch of 20-something influencers. This was the slowest Coachella to sell out. I think last year sold out in 4 hours. This year sold out in a month and a half. And the overall problem that I'm getting from my people on the ground at Coachella is it's really become influencers, and people are paying $600 so they can do Instagram posts. It's not fanatic music fans. So the acts that don't make sense, like a Blur, like a Justice maybe, they're not getting the responses that they should get because the audience is like, we don't know who Blur is.
Yeah.
Like we take for granted everyone knows Oasis and Blur, but when did song number 2 come out? 1990 something?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So if you're a 24-year-old, you may not know who Blur is.
So real quick, before we go any further, we really didn't set this up very well. Matthew has no idea what we're talking about. So let's try to set this up. Jay, you can help me fill in the blanks, or anybody in here can help me fill in the blanks. So Coachella is a big music festival in Coachella, way up in the mountains there by Jay.
Yeah.
And it's been going on for many years. It goes on a couple weekends. And there was a DJ named Grimes, who Jay has just informed us is also Elon Musk's baby mama.
Yes. That's not an unknown fact. So
I didn't know this. I had no idea. I haven't been following this at all. And apparently her set was a complete train wreck for one reason or another. I don't know what that reason is. But everybody's talking about it because she got on stage at Coachella and blew it. Is that pretty much where we're at, Jay? Is that?
Well, it's not so much that she blew it. It's that she got on the mic.
Yeah.
And she made a lot of announcements. And the announcements were
panic-stricken.
Panic announcements. They were, something's wrong with the gear. The monitors aren't working. And she said flat out, and I'm not going to skip over her apology. She said flat out, I let someone else prepare my set for me, and the BPMs aren't working. This says 120, and now it's 176. They're doubled. And we all kind of very quickly came to the conclusion, because she used the word sync, that what she was doing was syncing. Well, the problem is if you're syncing the wrong direction, you can double the first deck. So if the first deck is 100 and you try to sync it, you can go to you can take a 126 and drop it to 100 or vice versa. So one song's going to sound really weird. You can get out of it for anyone that ever uses a CDJ. Where your pitch fader is, there's a little button next to it that says tempo reset.
Yeah.
If you push that, it does just that. It resets the tempo to 0.
Which is usually right in the center, right?
It's right in the middle of the pitch fader. Yeah. It's your get out of jail emergency button.
Uh-huh.
You can also hit sync and it'll shut it off.
So what I'm getting from this, and I guess I knew it, but I didn't think about it. She's using Pioneer equipment.
Oh, yeah.
And
she was using CDJs and I think an A9.
Okay.
And the problem became she at one point yelled out record box. She at one point yelled out sync. She said that her tracks were messed up because somebody else prepared them because she was busy. And it's comments like that that kind of really screwed her because the audience is like too busy to be prepared to play Coachella.
Yeah.
And that's where the blowback started was, well, you're a DJ. Don't worry about sync. Just BPM match. Like use your ears. Or even look at the decks and go, this says 120. This says 240. Let me change that to 120 and I'm okay. And then she said, I've got new tracks. I'm just going to perform to those. That didn't work out. So she ended up leaving stage early. But she made a great apology afterwards and she took the blame. She goes, it was my fault. Things got messed up. I should have handled it better. I shouldn't have involved the audience. And, we do this all the time. We have problems at weddings and mobile events. And I guarantee no one on this panel has ever once gone to the microphone to announce the mistake. Like, you don't say anything. You literally, you just make it look like it was part of it. Like, if you look sincere enough, people will believe that that train wreck mix was done on purpose. Like I've seen video of guys where it's absolutely boots in the dryer and they start to dance like against the bad beat.
Yeah.
Like it's some sort of they're on a horse. And I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. If I ever make this mistake, I'm going to do just that.
Yeah. I meant to do that.
She got on the mic and started rambling and crying out for help sort of thing. And, you know, there's a lot of people that it could have been a problem with. Like, why didn't somebody off stage come over? She's got management. Where was her manager? Where was her stage manager? Where was the tech support? Where were the sound guys? Where was the stage, you know, runner that deals with just gear? Like, had I been in the backstage, I would have been the guy running up on stage going, "What's going on?" And she would have been like, "These aren't syncing." And be like, "Well, because you've got 100 and you've got, you know, 140, and now the 100 has gone to 140. Let's get out of sync. Like, you know, turn on the noise effect and go to deck 3 and we'll kill these 2 decks and start over." There's ways around it. But if you're standing in front of a Coachella audience and I'm just going to say it, if you're not prepared and things do go wrong, man, it's going to spiral out of control pretty quick. And that's just what happened. And like I said,
moral of the story.
Said, I didn't do my own set.
Yeah. Moral of the story, be prepared. I mean, I don't know, dude. Festival DJs are a different world than what I do.
Right.
Does anyone in here, has anyone in here performed at a legit festival? Damon, have you? You've probably done some stuff. Big techno town in Detroit. You've done that stuff.
Yeah, I've done movement in Detroit a couple of times.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest techno fests in the United States.
Right.
You know, so, yeah.
Right.
So, well, I mean, we've had problems, but we never, you know, this was even before CDJs. We used to have to put plexiglass up around the turntables in case the wind blew.
Right.
Right. So, yeah. So, but we didn't let that stop us. I mean, and this is like pre-Serato days. So this was, we were actually playing real vinyl still, you know?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about that too. I mean, I've been thinking about Jay a lot, and Jay is going to start an adventure with turntables. That's his thing he wants to do this year. And I applaud that. He's never done it. And I've done a couple of little videos, I did last week anyway, with Jay in mind, almost talking about how we used that stuff back then. It wasn't the trickery that you're using with the CDJs or the controllers or Serato or Record Box or whatever your weapon of choice happens to be. A lot of it was just kind of just getting it out there, not having dead air, getting some mixes that made sense. It was different. It wasn't.
It was organic.
Yeah.
But you didn't think of it as organic. You just thought of it as, I'm being a DJ.
Well, this is how you did it.
Well, yeah, because now it's like, my experience with turntables so far has been like painting, where you might be able to make a small correction, but if you decide to take a brush and go blue, it's blue.
Yeah.
Now you got to work with it, versus the digital realm where you're like, let me delete all the blue. Let me start over and get the AI bot to come in. You know, I mean, it's just as hard to work with controllers and CDJs maybe, but man, it is another world with turntables. And I think I told you when I started my job in 97, we would have DJs show up on our boats and we'd put them on the top deck, and it never dawned on me to warn them. It gets really windy at night in the bay.
Yeah.
And they'd roll up with turntables and they were screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no phase, no cross 12, no Serato, no laptop. And it's like,
close the lid.
They're literally keeping their hands over by the spindle because they're afraid the vinyl's going to blow off.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We used to put the dust covers on and just kind of carefully lift it up, put the needle on, close it right away. If you were in a really windy situation. Damon, the question I have for you is this. When you've done your movement sets, how long were they? Hour? Okay. How prepared were you for those sets? Did you practice that set before you brought it on stage?
Yes and no. I was playing what they call ghetto tech, which is cross between techno and Miami bass music.
Sure.
So it was a lot of stuff I've been playing for years, months and years at a time. So if I can roughly, I will practice a little bit, but once I get my first 4 records, then I can freestyle it from there.
Right.
I just had to make sure my first 4 records was like locked.
Right. You knew how you were going to start it.
Yeah, I knew I was going to
And then
start.
you took it from there, which is, the style of the DJ. That's how I like to do things.
Yeah, and I would have my crate of records, like 100 records with me,
Sure.
so I can go anywhere,
Right.
here. But I'm only playing maybe like a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops of each record.
Right.
So I was doing a lot of quick mixing.
Sure. Which is the way to do it when you're trying to do an hour set. You want to get as much material in there as possible.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're familiar with the ghetto tech music and stuff like that, after about a minute and a half, it's like, all right, let's get out of this and get to the next record.
It's enough.
Because we're still playing it like DMC style. We're still doing a lot of tricks, doing a lot of scratching.
Uh-huh.
It's just like get to the meat of it. Boom, 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 boom. Next. Boom, 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 boom. Next.
Right.
So.
That reminds me when I worked with Second Nature and Rooney, 2006. They did the launch, kind of having video DJs at NAMM in our booth, and I remember they both had a 15-minute set on DVD players.
I remember that.
Yeah, 15 minutes each, and they played it back to back to back for 8 hours a day. So we would memorize their sets. Like they'd have the movie drops, they'd have this.
Second Nature did that mix with he had some really cool mix of Kenny Loggins' "This Is It" on video. I remember that.
Yes.
And every time I came into the booth, it was on.
And he did a thing with T.I. and he had a bunch of stuff, and he would end everything. The last clip he would end with was James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano, because he would have somebody else be like, hey, it's DJ, and then it would be Tony Soprano in the psychiatrist's office going, it's Second Nature. And that would be his ending clip, and he'd echo out. But I asked him, I'm like, how long did it take you to make this set? He's like, this took 40 hours.
Wow.
He spent 40 hours because he had to make it up in his head first.
Right.
Then he had to get on the computer and be like, okay, I'm going to go to this movie and I'm going to take this one little clip, and then I've got to figure out how to cut that and then move it in. And it was very intense. And I remember seeing him, over the years, but I saw him at a Mobile Beat within the last 10 years. It was like 2014, 15, 16, something like that. And I made a comment about how long it took to do his sets back in the day. And he's like, Jay, I could do an hour video presentation set now for a client, like get their name in there, get their images in there. He goes, it would probably only take me a couple hours to do it now.
Yeah.
But he had elevated his skill of doing editing and all that.
Yeah, and the tools that he had to work with at the time as well. Well,
yeah. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm looking off to the side on the screen and I see Grimes' actual apology. And it's nice. It's saying, hey, I shouldn't have done this. I had technical difficulties, technical issues. But she comes up with 3 lessons that she learned. And I'll just quickly give you this. 1, if you want it done right, do it yourself. 2, be a bad word, even if people feel bad. And 3, probably pretend it's fine and engage with the crowd rather than spend a whole show slumped over the desk trying to fix software when you're meant to be entertaining. So reading that is sort of telling me that she's still deflecting the fact that it was her set and it was her fault. But she's still kind of falling back on, the next line is, I will personally organize all files next week. I will not let such a thing happen again. But you did let it happen.
It's just so strange for me
it's
to hear somebody talking about, I will organize all files. Like, the next line, Brian, I've spent months on this show making music and visuals and admittedly am not in the best mood at the moment. Well, but whose fault was that? You admit that you let someone else run your set, but it's your set. Like if I go to your town and I'm going to DJ, I'm bringing everything with. You might give me gear, but I'm not going to be like, hey, Brian, I'm doing this thing in your town. You know Milwaukee better than me. Dude, hook it up for me. You know what I play. Just do, Right.
This isn't, Brian, you're not cooking for me and I'm in the mood for deer. That's not what this is. I don't understand the apology even with I let other people, but the downside for me becomes lines like this. I've outsourced essential things like record box BPMs and letting someone else organize the tracks on the SD card, etc. I had a bad feeling beforehand not having everything run through the CDJs myself. Though I flagged it, I wasn't insistent. What? Yeah, again, can you just be clear? You're the name on the sign.
Yes.
It doesn't say people that helped Grimes get her set put together. That's what pisses me off.
Well,
I'm with you on that.
Your name.
The moral of the story, I think, is just
be prepared.
Be prepared,
Yeah.
But when you say that, people get all, that's not fair. What? People spent $600 to go see her. Maybe not just her.
Not just her.
Wanted to see, no doubt. But
nobody paid to see her at all.
But she was part of the package.
So Eric, you had a thought.
I got a couple thoughts, but I'll make it quick.
Is that a helicopter I hear behind you?
Oh, shut up. Listen, like Jay hit a lot of these points right on, But one, we've all died a dog's death at an event. And you'd be lying if you said we didn't. We all did at one point or another.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we didn't go on the mic and say it's, this techniques thing and this pioneer. What do? We just go with the flow, we fix it and keep moving. That's what she should have done, in my opinion. The number one thing that I think she did wrong was have someone else prepare her set. This is a huge event, right? It's like us going to do a wedding. There's no rewind button. You're live. This is it. Don't you want to know what the hell you're doing? And excuse me for saying hell on here, but
oh my gosh,
you guys have said worse. But no, don't you want to know what you're going to be doing beforehand?
Well, that's kind of what's baking my noodle. Just having this conversation, John, have you ever had someone prepare a set for you?
No.
I find that hard to believe.
I don't even have sets prepared for me.
Point.
I'm thinking about even just like doing a wedding, and you think, okay, we want to hear these, 15 songs. Fine.
I don't know, man. I get a feeling.
But they're not giving it to you on a file.
Right. They're not.
Here's the mix.
You're right.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I'm thinking, like 2 weeks ago, we didn't know her name. Now she has this blunder, and she's going to come back next week, and it's the redemption. People want redemption. She's going to come back. Do you think this is calculated? Do you think this was the way?
I don't think she's that smart.
That she would have wanted this to go off the rails and say, "Now I'm going to come back, and everyone's going to know my name." And
look, if you're Elon Musk's baby mama, why would you do that?
I know. Why would you?
You've got dough.
Here's the line you guys need to know that will answer that question, John. And I quote, "The CDJs were showing me BPMs like 370, so I couldn't even mix manually by ear. And in the front monitors were off. So I was literally sonic chaos on my end, trying to guess how stuff was sounding for you guys. You have headphones? She had them on her head. There's buttons on the CDJs. I would have had more respect if she shut the gear off.
Yeah.
And just started over.
Piece of electrical tape over that
so
300.
lost. I don't know what's wrong with this. Let me turn it off. There's sync and get out of sync. There's tempo. There's a tempo slider. There's adjustable tempo ranges. And there's a tempo reset button. Like, I don't know how many things you need to get out of jail on.
Yeah. But
before you realize, I mean, when I read that, granted, I'm biased, but when I read that, I'm kind of like, I don't use CDJs all that much. I really don't. I use them at shows. I have them, but I don't perform with them very much. I used them the other day and I had to remember, that's a back button, not a load button. Oh, that's right. But if my career was spent using them, I would know what everything was and what everything did. And I think it speaks to not being prepared.
Well, I'm going to say this. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't think it's a matter of, let me screw this up and I'll get popularity. The end result, you're right. The end result is she'll go from 3 million followers on Instagram to like 9 million because everyone will rally behind her because these things are such quick hits. And she'll be the biggest draw next weekend. And you're right,
All
John.
eyes on
No
her.
one knew who she was. Monday on KTLA, I turn on the news Monday morning, and they're talking about Coachella, and the second story after No Doubt was Grimes. So it was, hey, No Doubt back together after 11 years. Hey, did anyone check out Grimes? So it's already that self-fulfilling prophecy. We never get this choice. We never have the option to ever say to somebody, I don't know what happened. I didn't set up my gear. I didn't set up my music. We still have to get out of it. And we've all figured out how we can just say, oh, you didn't like that mix? I did that on purpose. You did? Yeah, wasn't it awesome the way everyone jumped up and down? Oh my God, that was so cool. We've all made mistakes and mixed early. Tell me the truth. Who here has not accidentally gone to load a track on a live deck and loaded a track? I have. I've done it probably 5 times until I figured out how to lock the deck that was playing. But when I've done it and everything stops, I've been smart enough to grab a live mic and go, somebody make some noise for the bride and groom, and then reload the track and hit play and make it look like that's what was supposed to happen.
You meant it. You meant it. Yeah.
I had one wedding about 3 years ago where I screwed something up.
Always waiting for a brick. Never find one with him.
No, the deck shut off. Something happened on the controller, and the photographer was next to me, and I'm like, oh, damn. And she goes, group photo, group photo. And I grabbed the mic. I'm like, hey, everybody, real quick, we need to do a group photo. No one had a clue that I had screwed something up. And the photographer pulled me out of it. And it's my advice to everyone here. If you have a real fail, get on the mic and do a group photo on the dance floor. I know they're all excited. They're all jumping up and down. But trust me, they'll do the group photo. And it'll give you time to reload, figure out what you screwed up, get a track loaded, and then move forward.
Okay, let Damon say something.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, speaking of Grimes, when it comes to her first, like resetting, I don't think she knows how to do that. She's one of these rich people that everything is set for her, and she just walks in and plays, even at her house. So she's not used to having, equipment make mistakes on her. It's just there.
Or somebody
else is doing everything else for her. That's my opinion.
That's not being a DJ.
I agree with you.
You're probably pretty. That's probably pretty accurate. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming, and we can all just assume.
It was the same thing with Paris Hilton 10 years ago when Paris wanted to play Coachella. Yeah. And she's sitting up there and letting somebody else do the whole damn set for her.
But to her credit, Damon, honestly, I know her DJ, this guy Endo. You guys know Endo. Endo spent hours, like 25, 30 hours with her, at least going over tractor and the gear. And I think once she got on stage, it became something's going wrong in that famous photo where someone reaches up and hits a button.
Yeah.
But and according to him, and he's really got no reason to lie to me because it was an off-the-record talk, he's like, dude, she genuinely wants to be a DJ, but I'm trying to explain to her, you got to put in the time practicing. You can't have me for 20 hours and be a DJ. Right. It doesn't work that way. You have to stop, and when I leave, spend 5 or 10 hours a day getting your talents up to speed. I don't know enough about Grimes, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, but I 100% agree with you. I don't think she knows the gear well enough to respond to a problem.
Right. It has to be a certain degree of proficiency. I mean, there's using the gear and using it well. That's probably the line she needs.
I was just going to say, she definitely was not prepared gear-wise, knowing what she was in for with this gear. She didn't have enough practice with this gear to use it. Therefore, it's user error, period. And don't go blaming the person that prepared the set or, Brian, you can give me 20 songs that I don't know and say, here, mix these. And I could do it. I think we all could do that.
But she's in a position in the society that we live in because of who she is and because of her following. If she DM'd a certain company that I won't name right now and said, hey, I need 2 of these and 1 of these, it would show up.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse on that side either. I've seen DJs that are at home on apps and then show up at the gig and kill it. And I'm like, oh, you have these? No, man, I had to use an app. What? Yeah, I used an app because it's a similar layout. And then I went online and watched a video, and I watched one from Brian and one from you and one from somebody else. And I saw where things were. And then I figured it out. And then I bought this thing for $400 used. It was beat up, but it's really similar. And that's what I use. Hey, more power to you. I mean, you may not be able to afford a $300 hockey stick, but you got a broom and a tennis ball. You can get the motions going enough that when you get that hockey stick, you can at least know what to do. And I think that that's where the disconnect is.
Yeah.
And the bigger picture that Brian is thinking about and is probably heading towards is this is sort of what's gone south in the industry is it's very easy now with no licensing, no education, and no certification to just come out of nowhere and go, hey, everybody, I'm a DJ. You are? Yeah.
You ever feel like you just lose control of the show?
I play Coachella. I mean, I
yeah.
played the Hollywood Palladium last week. I'm still doing a wedding this week.
There you go.
I'm not, they didn't invite me back. They're not like, oh man, you were amazing. We got to bring you back.
Start
But at
drug
least
testing
I got a
these fools.
chance.
Well, I hope she showed up in a Tesla. That's all.
All I was going to say, okay, if I may.
Oh,
This is what Brian was going to say. No.
This is his show. I forgot. Go ahead, Brian.
And I was kind of thinking about Damon with his sets that he's done at festivals. And I know that I've done things like this too. It's and to Jay, to give you, and I know you'll get this, it's kind of like playing guitar. It's like learning that Eruption solo for the first time. And you kind of fumble through it and you got to think about it. Eventually you can do it with your eyes closed behind your back and not even think about it. You practice and practice and practice until you can't get it wrong.
Yes.
That's how you seriously step onto a stage and perform. That means you care. That means that you are serious about this.
100%.
I think it's important. I hate going out with new equipment where I don't have serious time on it. Like serious time on it.
But you're also smart enough to look at the equipment and then stop and catch yourself and go, okay, I volume mixer in the middle. I got 2 control surfaces on the sides. There's my play. There's my cue. Here's my platter. I can fine tune this. But out of the gate, if you showed up at a gig and I said, hey, Brian, I'm going to put you on the XC. I've never seen the XC before. Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Well, you kind of figured it out. It's like grabbing a different guitar. But
100%. Like,
yeah, I mean, but you're somewhat proficient in something, on something.
No, 100%. But
Yeah.
even the example of the Eruption, this is that bigger picture I just mentioned. I can do Eruption perfect. I didn't write it, so I don't get much credit. I just copied somebody else.
Right.
But in the DJ community, there are the Danny Tenaglias, the Fatboy Slims, the Eric Prids, the Eats Anything or Eats Everything. There are DJs that I could say, hey man, you do a funk set tonight? Yeah, no problem. And they'll do it. Hey, do like a tech house? You got it. And then there's DJs on another level that just do what they do. They cannot change. I can't go up to these DJs and say, hey man, I've got 1,000 songs of techno from, the 90s period. I got some Derek May stuff. I got some Kevin Saunders stuff. I got, some kind of deeper stuff. You mind hooking this up? No, I mean, I could beat match it, I guess, but I don't feel it. And I think this is where we as mobile DJs sit in such a weird realm. I've told this story a million times. Famous DJ in Vegas calls me that day and says, I can't do my show tonight. Can you do it for me? I'll give you my music. It's all trance. It's all 130 to 136 BPM. Can you show up and do this mix? Yes. But the next week when I call him and say, hey man, I can't do my wedding. Can you do it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't know what to play for cocktail dinner. I don't know when to play low versus, this versus that versus this.
It's funny when you think about, club DJs, and I've thought about this too. And even at a club level, I mean, when you're playing, doesn't matter what you're playing. It could be techno, it could be hip hop, it can be whatever. But you're playing at a club to a certain generation, and they're all like-minded. They're there to hear that type of music. That's a very different vibe than walking into a room with the cross section of everyone from 7 to 70. And everybody's got a different opinion, and everybody votes different, and everybody lives in a different neighborhood, but they're all in the same room. There's 150 of them, and you've got to entertain them all with something.
Well, they judge you that way too. If you go to a disco club and I say, "How was the DJ?" "Oh, he's really good, man. He played disco all night." Well, that's what you knew he was going to play.
Right.
Yeah, he did. He played disco all night. He played a couple 80s tracks that were really cool, that totally fit, and it was fun. We had a great time. The DJ was really good. Then you go to a wedding, and now that same DJ has to go from the 30s to the newest banger that just came out.
Not the 30s. My God,
Well,
they're all dead.
Well,
It
some of us are dipping a little low there, my friend. That's what
That's my
keeps
baby.
us individual. I'm just saying. That's where the money's
putting
coming
on the
from.
Ritz. What the hell's going on here?
Man,
I'm just, if I got
I
to
would
go
have said
back,
at least the 60s, but
if I got to go
Right.
back, I go back. Yeah, but
60s is fair.
even if you're not, you still, well, hey, I'll play Scott Joplin, the Entertainer, once in a while. I believe that's a 20 string.
No, it's not.
No.
It's from the 70s, actually.
So we're
70s in the movie.
we're not counting that one. We're counting original, not the remixes. But so
No, it's not a remix. It's the song is from the 70s. The Entertainer is from the early 70s.
But his other catalog is what I'm looking at. The white label stuff that's on vinyl
Shut
that
up,
I have
fool.
that you don't have. I'm just saying.
You have the sheet music.
No, but you
I'm
look
going to
at
call
the-
you out on your crap once in a while. I'm just saying.
No, the span. Then I think I can confidently say from the 50s.
But Marvin Hamlish?
today.
It was Marvin Hamlish.
Yes.
I think it was Marvin Hamlish. But at least from the 50s through today, and you don't always know when this crowd walks in how you're going to treat them. And the goal is at the end of the night to have them feel the same way they would if they had planned to come see you. That's really the standard is you want them leaving thinking, wow, we had a great time and we are a group from 8 to 80 and everyone danced. And that's where we as mobile wedding DJs and mobile DJs and open format DJs get to manipulate the crowd. When you can have grandma dancing to Usher because you mixed it coming out of Staying Alive, that's a triumphant moment.
Yeah, that's what we do.
You want
That's
everyone to feel
exactly what we
included.
do.
You know?
So understanding the pain that someone that has gotten a limo or a helicopter with a green room and people fawning all over you and having 20,000 people in front of you, I have a difficult time really feeling that much sympathy because you didn't know enough to be prepared.
No, that's just the moral of the story. And to waste any more time on it, I think would be ill-advised for any of us to do. I really do, because we've got so many other cool things we could be talking about.
Yep.
Be too preoccupied with this, but I thought it was topical and interesting, and we should bring it up. And you shine some light on this. Some things I didn't know about it, which were really cool. But I have
Next Saturday it'll be the Phoenix rising from the ashes.
I have another question, just a fun one. Being the Tuesday night music show, we should probably talk about music a little bit.
Sure.
Going around the room, I'm curious. What was the last song you had stuck in your head? Just out of nowhere, stuck in your head.
That's a great question.
John, what was the last song you had stuck in your head?
I had an issue with Got My Mind Set on You from George Harrison for a couple of days after we talked about it at length, ad
That's
nauseum
earworm.
last week.
That's
And it's a
earworm.
really hard beat to shake. I had to go to like Dexy's Midnight Runners to get rid of that.
Yeah.
I got one.
What you got?
Take one's daily Jardian. Commercial. And I see it 100 times a day, damn it. Yeah.
Stop watching the old folks channels.
Yeah.
Well, it's right
Was
there.
it between Green Acres and Beverly Hillbillies? Or
George Hall right here. Yeah.
20
when was that
times-
one on?
20 times.
Adam
during
12,
General
Emergency
Hospital.
51? Come on.
Yeah. General Hospital at least 10 times during it, okay? It's really getting to me.
Luke and Laura, baby.
Oh, that's long gone. But yeah.
What?
Laura is still there.
Is she really?
Yeah, Luke is gone.
It's like 50 years ago.
I was going to say that was, dude, I was in college.
Is she
It's like
80?
82, Luke and Laura.
They were the hottest
Oh, they are?
couple on TV back then. You're right. But
Right.
we'll make another show of this. But
I remember when the
40-some-odd
whole
years.
world shut down for that wedding.
Yeah, big time. Damn.
What was that? All I Need, wasn't that the song?
No,
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, Jack
You're All I
Wagner.
Need.
Jack Wagner.
And
Yeah,
he was
Jack
an
Wagner.
actor.
There you go. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was an actor too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Rick Springfield, Dr. Noah Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a song that just won't leave?
I got busted on "I Kissed a Girl" by Katy Perry the other day.
Oh, you would.
Heard it early in the day on something, and it was stuck later that day. And I'm like, God damn it! I don't want this in my head.
Yeah.
And it was just the chorus. It wasn't even the stupid song. It was just the chorus. I kissed a girl and I liked it. I'm like, ugh.
Damn, that's almost as bad as I got stuck on "Color Me Bad," "Sex You Up" the other day.
That's a cool one, though.
Yeah, that's
It is,
Just
but
the TikTok part, or did you get beyond just the intro?
the whole song was in my going through my head.
I've had one
Mia
stuck in my
Moore.
head for a good week. I have no idea why. No idea why.
Johnny Gill.
Jay talking about music from the 30s reminded me
Uh-oh.
of this. Again, thought I'd gotten rid of it, and then he said that, and it came back. The Chagga Choo Choo.
Oh, pardon me.
What, Glenn
It's been
Miller?
stuck in my head for like a week.
Track 29.
Yeah.
29.
Here, replace
know
with
why.
Pennsylvania 5000.
Andrew's sisters, whoever the hell did that song, yeah.
Pardon me, boy.
Yeah, I think it was the Andrews sisters.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Glenn Miller? He did it too, though, right? No.
Well, everyone did it, but I think the
I
Andrews
think,
sisters one who sang it.
Yeah, that was vocals.
Actually, Glenn
Later.
Miller never sang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, he was a conductor.
Yeah.
But I think
String
the
of
Andrews
Pearls
sisters
and
were the
Pennsylvania 5000.
6,5,000.
Was it 6,500?
Pennsylvania 6,5,000. Yeah.
In the mood.
Don't forget
Well,
about the
I had
chicken
the early
dance.
release.
I haven't had Chicken Dance stuck in my
I
head.
play In the Mood all the time. That's a big opener, In the Mood by Glenn Miller. Sorry, but it gets the old folks out, and then you got some levity.
There was a song that was stuck in my head for like a whole season one time, and I was considering ending it all because I couldn't make it go away. And the only way I could make it go away was to just listen to it and kind of admit I kind of liked it, even if I didn't.
I bet it was a Pitbull track.
It's Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick.
When was this? The 70s?
That was a weird one.
Just that food, all day long, dude. It was like torture.
Getting followed by
It
leprechauns.
was like I was in some kind of like concentration camp, and they were like trying to make me commit Harry Carey because that's all I heard in my
Jethro
head.
Tull.
Yeah, thick as a brick.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thick as a
Can I
brick.
just say real quick?
I like Jethro Tull.
Choo Choo was
Yeah.
made famous by Glenn Miller in 1941. That's
41, just 2 years away from the 30s, huh? Wow.
no, I'm just
Just
saying. Like,
saying.
I don't know when the original came out, but it didn't become real famous until
Yeah.
Glenn Miller and his orchestra did it. But I don't remember singing in that version. I thought,
I thought
I think there is. I think there's a singing version.
Is there really? Yeah.
There, I
Pardon
don't
me,
know. if
boys.
it's-
Is that a Chattanooga Choo Choo?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I thought the Andrews sisters.
Yeah.
Andrews sisters. Yeah, wartime songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just curious when Brian brought it up. Like, was there a 30s? That
Well,
must have.
I'm just thinking old songs that everyone's dead that would want to hear.
And,
Because,
and
I mean,
just
Much.
I have music that I bought for an audience that is no longer with us. That's how long I've been doing this. Like they're gone.
yeah.
I've got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the World War II music,
Huh?
and it's starting to become 50s. It's going away.
Well, that's
It's
it.
hard to remember that
ever
fact,
played
though.
50s.
No, when we started in the 80s and you wanted to go 40, 50 years back, you're in 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
You got all those, 78s or whatever that were in your parents' house.
78s.
Wow.
Well, you're playing those birthday parties for people who are turning 60, 70 years old, Yeah.
Sure. You needed
That's
Mitch
the
Miller. You
stuff.
needed all that junk.
Well, now the biggest birthday you're going to get that I've gotten is, hey, it's so and so, my grandmother's 80th. So you're like, okay, so she was born in 44. Like that's, and which means she's not conscious of music until probably 50.
Mid-50s. She liked the Beatles.
And then she liked the stuff in
Chick
the
Berry.
early to mid 50s.
Elvis.
And it's hard to sometimes even remember. I did a wedding a couple years ago and they were like 65 and 66. And I was playing all 60s. They wanted, like, I'm playing these, not all just 60s, but I remember playing The Association, playing To Sir With Love. I had people coming over the whole time. Oh, I haven't heard this in forever. Oh, this is the best music. Oh, I can't believe this. And it gets to that point where you're like, I'm not going to play anything new.
It's
like,
weird.
And by new, in the last 30 years.
I always hear people say this, and it's so weird. And I don't know if it's unique or what, but I don't think that way because my mom's 83, and
well, she's different though, Brian. She's into newer stuff. She's
not everything though.
80s.
I mean, she loves the Bee Gees.
Not everything, but
she goes. Bee Gees is about as far back as we're going to want to go. But you can also do Pitbull. You can do Maroon 5. You can do Dua Lipa. You can do that kind of stuff for mom, and she would totally dig it. She also likes yacht rock stuff. So I don't assume that everybody wants to hear music that was popular during their high school graduation. I just don't.
But I think when people that are starting to DJ ask me about how do you gauge age in music, I will oftentimes say a big part of music is that period. And I'm finding as I age, you tend to go back to it. I would read Guitar Player magazine about Ace Frehley and other players, and they'd be like, who are you really into? And they were into the things growing up. So they were into all the 60s guitarists. And I'm finding now, it makes me laugh with young brides and grooms to go, yeah, my grandfather's like 67 and, you got to play old music. And I'm just like, your grandfather was doing stuff in a bathroom at a disco club in the 70s. I mean, you have no idea how, like, he's prime 70s.
He's hipper than you're giving him credit for. Yeah.
Oh, much.
Right.
Oh, grandma's kind of she's kind of a quiet soul. I'm like, yeah, because she was doing stuff off the back of a toilet back in 77. Like,
I remember
Exactly.
I remember doing in 89. I remember doing a class of 69 20-year class reunion. And of course, my 18-year-old brain or 17 or whatever I was thinking, and oh my God, these people are old and they're going to want to hear this music from way back.
Oh, Hendrix.
No.
69.
No.
You're playing Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine if they're in
No.
They didn't know there either?
Really?
No. These
Really,
women,
really?
these women didn't look any different than the women who I was seeing at the club. They 20 year? What were they? 38?
Is it like 38?
Yeah, they weren't that old. But in my brain, I thought they were. No. Pump Up the Jam and Push It and that Hathaway, I Want to Be Rich, and all the contemporary dance songs at the time is what they wanted. That's what they responded to. We didn't do Aquarius. We didn't do the Doors
and all
the
that.
hippie stuff coming out of that.
No, we didn't do any of that.
But don't you think that's a fair assumption of a DJ to look at somebody and say, when did you get out of high school? Oh, I got out in 89. Oh, okay, great. The 80s is going to be raging. Because when I've done 80s graduations 20 years later, 30 years later, that's where their sweet spot seems to be as a genre.
I can tell you this from personal experience, and I hope I don't offend anybody here. The people that I know who are still thinking about the glory days of high school are the most pathetic people that I know. The coolest people that I know had stuff happen to them after high school. They went to college. They got married. They had a family. They traveled to Europe. They did these things. That was a lot more interesting than gym class and the football games in high school. So I think the more interesting people go beyond the glory days. Yes, the glory days or would be Dacia. Would be the launch point. Would be, okay, we know we at least need to start here. But we can go here too. Be ready to go here. So not a bad thing to suggest the launch point of 80s, but also I think probably unwise to suggest stay here because you've got a broad range here. And I don't know anybody who, I mean, in my class anyway, who would really want to be super associated with music from back then. They want to show that they've progressed and they want to show that they've done something since high school and have grown since high school and have different likes and things that turn them on since high school. And they want to hear something different than what they were hearing in high school.
I think it's an age thing. Like I look at my age versus high school. Yeah, there are songs that I might think of as high school. So if I did a high school reunion for me, I'd be like, oh, they're playing these songs because this is what we heard in high school. But I 100% agree with you. Age-wise, people grow way past that music.
Yeah.
I just think if you're doing that event, be prepared to maybe early in the night, hit them with the stuff that they were in that 4-year span for.
Yeah, launch it.
Yeah. Let them hear the stuff that they go, oh my God, remember this? We were sophomores. Remember this?
Live there.
And then later,
yeah,
understand that they've now grown past that.
Yeah.
And they've been exposed to all this other music. You know, I love talking to my wife who was into the darker 80s stuff and, you know, having discussions about how when she was a freshman in high school at 14, she liked the Smiths. And I'm like, I did too, but I was already drinking at bars legally because I'm older. And, you know, it's a little uncomfortable for our kids to hear that. But, you know, we try to soften the blow. But it's funny that as you get older, I mean, I think we as a collective are probably some of the most progressive music people I've ever met. I mean, we know what's going on today. And I think that's what keeps us relevant in the game.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I know what's going on.
You know enough that people don't view you as your age. People don't view me as my age because it's like, oh, you know that new, you know, Olivia Rodrigo track? Yeah, I have that. I got a cool remix of that.
Because
music is ageless and it gives us perspective, but it also gives us the ability to float within those periods of time without getting stuck. We're not our age against things. Because it's not how old we are. It's how we are not old.
Before we wrap the show, which we should do, John pointed out to me that we have not mentioned our sponsor, DJ Event Planner. Have a look at them along with our other sponsors in the description of this video on YouTube. There'll be a link down there for you to check out. I'd like to thank my panel for this weird show that we were all over the place on.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
We were all on the same page for this one.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is the first drink of the night in my right hand.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, everybody.